Hoodwood, where the locals are celebrating an unexpected playoff berth for the local fantasy football team. I'm KJ the Black Bandit, your host. And let's start off with the Heisman Trophy race, which I correctly called. Johnny Manziel winning the Heisman Trophy as a redshirt freshman, the first one ever to do so in long story history of the Heisman. And I'm not going to sit back and say, oh, he's going to win 2 or 3 or 4, but he did win his first, beating Manti Te'o of Notre Dame and Colin Klein of Kansas State, rather handily too. But I will give Te'o dap for laying, in a sense, Manziel's parents after Johnny won the award. And Manziel was really humble and very eloquent in his acceptance speech. And I think he is what the Heisman Trophy winners, past and present, can say is a well-deserved addition to their fraternity. I'm not going to call, like I said, I'm not going to predict he's going to win 2 or 3 of them going forward, but he will have a vote for the rest of his life. And who knows to say he won't vote for himself the next couple times out? And I'll shift gears and talk about the NBA, where it seems like the Minnesota Timberwolves are hell-bent on alienating their franchise player. They did so with Kevin Garnett back in the mid-2000s, then shipped him off to Boston, and now the Timberwolves are trying to do this again with their immensely talented big man Kevin Love. First by not signing him to the max deal that he was available to getting, and then not particularly building a team around him. Yes, the Timberwolves have selected and played occasionally Ricky Rubio, the talented man-child point guard, but the Timberwolves are not that talented of a team and are basically saying, why are we going to pay you when you're not winning? Kevin Love shoots back, I have nothing around me. And I think Kevin Love's right. Timberwolves have, for some reason, made it a point in policy to screw up whatever chances they've had of becoming a contender. With the exception of their 2004 run to the Western Conference Final, the Timberwolves have never gotten out of the first round. And that 2004 team, which was a personal favorite of mine, was probably the best team that they ever had. Fortunately, the Lake Show was blocking their way and kept them from getting to their first ever NBA Finals. The problem with the Timberwolves is that their owner, Glenn Taylor, still has no real idea how to run a basketball team. Yes, he has kept that team in Minnesota, helped build the Target Center, and has been a franchise savior more often than not, but his tendency to overpay and mess with players' salaries has kept that team depressed, has kept that team away from being a contender. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. That's a team that should be, with Kevin Love, a regular contender in the Western Conference. Russell Westbrook has went to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yes, they have Kevin Durant, but that team has been on the rise. Derrick Rose has elevated a otherwise ho-hum Chicago Bulls team to elite status. His injury notwithstanding, that is a team that you really think that Carlos Boozer and Joakim Noah are going to take that team anywhere deep in the playoffs or even to the playoffs? I don't think they're that talented. Staying with the NBA, the Nets and Knicks played a pretty tight game last night. The Knicks pulling out a 90-87 win, with Jason Kidd getting a phantom 4-point play against the Nets late in the game, kicking out his leg and getting a foul. But that's neither here nor there. People in New York so badly want the Knicks to be a good team, want to be a contender. And now when you have a team in Brooklyn, which was more or less ignored when they were in New Jersey, but now they're in Brooklyn, now they're a glamour team. And the NBA and the media wants the Knicks-Nets rivalry to be first and foremost one of the biggest rivalries in the NBA. I'm not buying it. I don't think the Nets are that good of a team. Deron Williams, he's a great player, but he doesn't have that much supporting cast around him. I mean, come on. Brook Lopez, Chris Humphries, are these really players that you want to say part of a marquee franchise. And I'm a big Jay-Z fan, even though he's a minority owner. But he's come to face the franchise as a front office for the Russian billionaire Mikhail Prokhorov, whatever the guy's name is. I know the guy got $1 trillion, and he has the Nets as one of his play toy type things. But I don't believe that the Knicks and the Nets are an A-list rivalry in the NBA. I don't think the Knicks are that good of a team. I mean, yes, they are 14-5 and are leading the Atlantic Division, but it's still December. I mean, a lot of things can happen between now and April. Carmelo Anthony still shoots too much, even though he got 45 points. But Jason Kidd is showing some sort of rebirth, shooting the threes. Jason Kidd shooting threes. It's kind of a scary thought, but he's actually making them and directing an offense is good. What's going to happen when Amari Stoudemire decides to come back? They have Tyson Chandler. They have a bevy of good players here. Raymond Felton coming on for Jeremy Lin, who departed for Houston. They have the tools and the talent, but can they put it all together? Mike Woodson's a good coach, but I just cannot buy into the New York Knicks being an elite Eastern team. Not with the on par with the Miami Heat anyway. I don't buy into the fact that the Knicks are a good team, and I certainly don't buy into the fact that the Nets, despite their good start, are a good team. Okay, let's switch gears back to college football, and a subject that's near and dear to my heart. University of Cincinnati, my alma mater, and their former coach, Butch Jones, who decided that the lure of the SEC was a little too strong to resist, and he decided he was going to Tennessee. Now, the Volunteer Orange and the Volunteer Nation is going to give him his support. I've been in Knoxville before. Beautiful city. It's a great college town, great college football program. Problem is that Tennessee does not have anywhere near any kind of talent to compete in the SEC. And when the Volunteers start out 0-4 in the conference, and the for sale signs start popping up on Butch Jones' lawn, he's going to rue the day that he left Cincinnati, where he could have been the unofficial mayor of the city, who continued to bring in 10-win seasons. The University of Cincinnati did not sit on its laurels and wring its hands and go, "Oh, woe is us. We lost our coach." Instead, athletic director Whit Babcock decided he was going to hit the trail quickly, reached out to then Texas Tech coach Tommy Tuberville, engaged his interest in the job in Cincinnati. Tuberville, who has coached the Red Raiders since 2009, decided that his time in Lubbock was getting shorter than he really wanted, and decided he was going to jump to Cincinnati, which shocked a lot of people, your humble scribe included, who was thinking that it was going to be a long, painful search, and that the brain trust of Cincinnati was going to fall back on a reliable pick, former high school coach and current Ohio State assistant coach Kerry Combs, who was a Cincinnati native and someone that many people thought would be a great pick as a local pick. I, for one, disagreed. I didn't think Kerry Combs would have been a great college coach. And fortunately, Babcock already had a plan in mind and decided he was going to take Tuberville. Tuberville being introduced Saturday in a press conference, a rousing press conference after the UC basketball game earlier that afternoon. Band, cheerleaders, and a few hundred people greeting Tuberville with chants, Coach Tubbs and Tubby Z and whatnot. But Tuberville has hit the ground running, and Cincinnati is seeming to embrace him. The supposed allegations of slipping out without paying the bill for recruits at a dinner notwithstanding, I think Tommy Tuberville will make a great impression in Cincinnati and keep the Bearcats, their conference affiliation though being in serious flux. I think he will keep them afloat and competitive in the foreseeable future. Okay, next up we're going to talk about baseball, and the winter time is always time for the hot stove league and what players are moving where and what teams are reporting which players. The New York Yankees signing UC alum, Cincinnati alum Kevin Euclid to a 1-year, $12 million deal, a deal I still can't believe. I mean, the Bearcat got to go for his loot and everything like that, and I'm not mad at him at all. But $12 million for a player that hit, what, 230, 235, that was basically run out of Boston and traded to the White Sox amid much fanfare. But the Yankees, in need of a third baseman with Alex Rodriguez being sidelined with hip surgery and likely being gone half the season, the Yankees need a third baseman. Euclid is a credible third baseman, plays decent defense, has a little bit of a pop in his bat, but you have to wonder, are the Yankees overspending for part-time help? Kevin Euclid being a decent player, but is not worth $12 million. Team that is spending like it's going out of style is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Zach Greinke being the latest of a long string of players that the Dodgers have signed over the past few weeks. In addition to that mammoth trade that they pulled off near the trading deadline, where they got Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford. The Dodgers are spending money like they think they're the Yankees. I mean, I know having Magic Johnson as one of your owners get you to think your whole Hollywood thing is all about you and everything. And the Dodgers have never been a very tight team, with Frank McCourt years being the notable exception. But the Dodgers are spending wildly, and you have to wonder, are they going to get the results? I mean, anything less than a World Series in Tinseltown is going to be considered an abject failure. Dodgers have made the World Series in 25 years. Think about that. The Dodgers have not made the World Series since 1988. I was in high school. They have not really even sniffed being anywhere close to the World Series in decades. And one has to wonder, all the money they're spending, is it going to be worth it? Is it going to bring them the results they want? I'm not too sure. The jury is still out on that one. I'm taking a look at the NFL. The Bountygate scandal has basically run its course, with Saints headman Sean Payton serving a year's suspension. But the players that were involved in it have fought the law and won. Forget I fought the law and the law won. Jonathan Vilma, Scott Fujita was among the two headliners of players that took on the NFL and the suspensions, and had former Commissioner Paul Tagliabue acting as a sort of a mediator magistrate, basically ruling that the suspensions were unwarranted and vacating the suspensions. This is a critical blow to Commissioner Grand Poobah of the NFL, Roger Goodell, who has wanted to long put down the smackdown and say he's the sheriff in town and what he says goes. His power has been significantly weakened. This is a commissioner who is out of control. I, for one, don't like some of the things that he's been doing, sissifiing the league, putting so much where hits are just getting flagged repeatedly, where players are being fined for hits that didn't get flagged. Roger Goodell needed to be checked, and Paul Tagliabue put the check on him. And you know the NFL owners are not going to stand for a commissioner that's been weakened. Don't be surprised if Roger Goodell all of a sudden decides he wants to find a new line of work within the next 6 to 12 months. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the locals are celebrating the fantasy football team making playoffs. The Chocolate City Black Bandits, which is a local team here in Hoodwood, made the Great Midwest Football League playoffs with an 8-6 record, getting the wild card, second in their division, and will be returning to the playoffs after missing last year. Now, the Bandits coach is yours truly, and the owner, my lovely daughter Caitlin, and her younger sister Jasmine, they have made a directive that I was supposed to make the playoffs, or my job will be in serious jeopardy. I made the playoffs, and even though we're playing the Crazy Kids this week in our league semifinal, and I'm a little bit of a decided underdog, confident that we can win and move on to try to capture our 10th league title in league history. So keep your fingers crossed for my fantasy football team that we get deep in the playoffs. Now for the Fat Dapped Ahead slap of the week, the Fat Dap going to Marcus Lattimore, the former running back from South Carolina who suffered an absolutely horrifying and gruesome injury last October versus Tennessee. He decided that he's going to declare for the NFL draft despite his injury, and I, for one, am not going to bet against Lattimore, considering that he did come back from a leg injury to his other leg just recently. Now, if Willis McGahee, formerly of Miami, who shredded his leg in a game, can come back and be a serviceable NFL running back, I think Marcus Lattimore is twice as talented running back as McGahee is, and I think he will be a NFL running back here soon. I'm not going to bet against him. Hoodwood has adopted him as one of his favorite sons next to Adrian Peterson, and I think that some NFL teams should take a chance on him and draft him. I think they'll be surprised. Now, the head slap of the week goes to Manny Pacquiao, who got absolutely put to sleep. And when I say sleep, I mean knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez in the fight on Saturday. Pacquiao was leading on all cards and was basically turning Marquez's face into hamburger helper when he walked into a right hand that knocked him cold. I'm not saying knocked him down. I'm not saying knocked him to the floor where he wasn't able to beat the count. I'm saying knocked face down to the floor and he wasn't getting back up. Now, not only is it going to be a head slap to Pacquiao for fighting somebody 4 times and not expecting something like this to happen, but also to Floyd Money Mayweather, who has been seemingly dancing around the prospect of fighting Manny Pacquiao here. Problems with Pacquiao, problems with Mayweather going to jail, Pacquiao not wanting the drug testing. Various problems have kept what should have been one of the biggest fights of this century from happening. And now, with Pacquiao getting knocked out, there is very little incentive for anyone to broker a fight between 2 fighters, one who is a former champion and another one that's been knocked cold. Head slap to both Pacquiao and to a lesser degree Mayweather for messing up what should have been one of the biggest fights ever. Well, with music coming up in the background, you know our time together. It's just about as complete. You can catch Musings from the Hoodwood, the video version, right here on YouTube. Put out every Wednesday or Thursday, depending on our production schedule. If you have any questions or comments for me, you can always drop me an email at kjgreen920@gmail.com, and I'll respond to the best questions or any other inquiries that you might have for me. You can always read the print column, Musings from the Hoodwood, every week, exclusively on ugab.sports every Tuesday. And sending my regards from Hoodwood, I'm KJ the Black Bandit. Until the next post, fellow sports fans.